Fine. Let me paint a scenario of what happens when you don't know how to say no. Let's say your boss asks you to get an analysis done by Wednesday, but you know that even if you work around the clock, it'll only be completed by Thursday. And you tell him that. But your boss says that's unacceptable and he doesn't want to hear any excuses. Now, because you're afraid of upsetting him or disappointing him, under pressure, you say you'll do your best. But you actually complete it on Thursday. And he's very angry because he says you've broken your commitment. Now, you end up feeling defensive and guilty, and your confidence is impacted. The next time he wants the report, he thinks, well, this person gives the report to me one day after they actually commit to it, so I need to put in a buffer. So he comes and asks you to complete the analysis by Tuesday. Now, you're feeling on the back foot because you feel he already has a low opinion of you. And so under pressure, you agree. But of course, you give it to him on Thursday because that's just how long it takes. Now, he's even angrier. And next time he thinks that since you deliver 2 days after you actually commit to it, he needs to put a bigger buffer. So he asks you to deliver on Monday, even though he needs it on Wednesday. So you're working harder and harder, losing your confidence. He's losing his trust in you. You're pushing your subordinates and not willing to listen to them when they say it's not possible, breaking their morale and their respect for you. You're not spending any time at home with your family and forget about your health, hobbies, and finally, even your self-confidence. And it's all because you haven't learned how to say one word: no. But we're afraid that if we say no, we'll be seen as lazy, incompetent, disobedient, overwhelmed, non-cooperative, etc., etc. And these are all legitimate fears. But it's critical to learn to say this word in order to be successful in your professional career and happy in your personal life. Warren Buffett once said that the most important word for a business leader was the word no. He said that he would get all sorts of people sending all sorts of investments, and he had to say no to almost everything. He said he only needed to say yes once or twice to be a billionaire. The real power came from his willingness to say no. Today, we're going to look at 3 ways to say no. The first is a technique called yes, no, yes technique from a book called The Power of the Positive No by William Ury. He said that anytime you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else that is more important. And that is the first yes. So if it's my mom's birthday this Saturday and my boss asks me to come into office over the weekend, and if I'm saying no to coming in on the weekend, the first thing I've got to be clear is what I'm saying yes to. I'm saying yes to letting my mom know that she's a priority for me in my life and that I appreciate everything she's done for me. If you're not clear what your priorities and values are in life, you'll find it hard to say no. If you say no to a promotion to a subordinate, what you're really saying yes to is working in a high-performance team. If you refuse a salary hike request, you're saying yes to principles that will lead to financial solvency for the organization so that everybody has a job. If you refuse to let your children have another chocolate cake, you say yes to their health. If you refuse an unrealistic timeline from your boss, you're saying yes to creating a work-life balance that will keep the best people in your team staying in the company for the long term. The no is the request you're saying no to. You're not rejecting the person making the request. You're saying no to the request. So think unambiguously. Because if you say, I'll try, or I'll do my best, then people could interpret it as a yes and treat it as a broken agreement if you don't follow through. But the real genius in the model is the final yes. The final yes is a yes to the relationship. It's a willingness to offer something else that you're willing to give that might be of value to the other person. So it could be, my mom's birthday is on Saturday, so I'd rather not come on the weekend. But I was coming on Monday morning at 8 a.m. and have to work completed by 12 p.m. Does that work for your boss? Or it's my mom's birthday this weekend, so I don't want to come into office, but I think the client is only looking for a summary page. Let me check with them, and if that's the case, I can send them the summary today itself and tell them we'll send a full report on Wednesday. Does that work for you? When you present a counter offer, the other person feels like you're trying to find a solution and be helpful, even though you've got other priorities. Another technique of saying no is the yes and technique. If your boss says that you need to move your deadline forward from October 30th to September 30th, instead of saying no, you say, yes, we can do that. And in order to make it happen, we need to add 2 more people to the budget and budget for the overtime. Now, it may not sound like it, but it is actually a no to the original request of achieving an accelerated timeline with the same manpower and budget. The final technique is just to say no. No explanation is required in some places. So if I ask Brad Pitt out on a date and he says no, well, that's it. He's not obligated to provide a reason or a justification. It's his prerogative. The only person who can't say no is a slave. That's the definition of a slave, someone who's not allowed to say no to their master. Now, there are prices that might be paid when you say no. But remember, in professional relationships, and perhaps even more in personal relationships, if it becomes a choice of saying yes to what you're asked to do, or saying no by quitting or breaking a relationship, you always have that choice. Feelings that you're not allowed to say no will wear away at your self-esteem and dignity. So don't forget that you have that choice. Now, there are 2 caveats that we'd like to add. You might say no to a target because you're not sure that you can achieve it. And you're afraid that if you say yes and don't deliver, then you're making false promises. But missing a target is not the same thing as making a false promise. A target is aspiration. The only people who will never miss their targets are people who play very safe, take very safe targets. Saying no to a commitment that you know you can't keep is being honest. Saying no to a target that you're not 100% sure you can achieve is playing safe. And that may not work as well in terms of how you're perceived in a high-performance organization. The second thing is that if you say no because you think it's not possible to achieve an objective in the timeline with the budget you have, then you need to have done rigorous calculation and scheduling so you can prove it with granular details if requested. If you're saying no because you think something is impossible, and other people think it is possible, but you're just not stretching yourself, then you will lose your credibility. So say no, but after you've done your homework so you can be sure of what you're saying.